Doesn't matter what I do. As soon as I start filming, Jford decides it is time to become part of the show. So what are we talking about today? Today is our 1970 Torino GT. This car belonged to my friend John Haley, and I actually helped him buy this car in 1984, and so it has a special place in my heart. Now, John passed in 2016. A very dear friend. He and I were friends from the time I moved to Houston in 1981 all the way through to his passing. So I've known John a long, long time. In the intermediate years between then, his wife decided she wanted to get rid of the car, felt like she wanted to get rid of the car, and so I offered to buy it. And I bought the car probably in, I think, 2018 or 19, and then everything that could happen happened between here and there. After the break, we're going to be talking about that car and what all we got with it, and what all problems we're going to encounter with this thing, because there are a few bumps on this little car's road. One of them you might be able to see is that rear quarter panel. Luckily, AMD's got the parts for it. After the break.
For 45 years, the Miller family and the dedicated staff at Autocrafters have been here helping you to restore your dream Ford. Thank you for your support. Here's to another 45 years of delivering parts for your Falcon, Fairlane, F100, Galaxy, Maverick, and Pinto.
So let's address one of the myriad of elephants in the room on this car back behind me, that quarter panel. Now, I don't know, maybe we can fix that quarter panel as it sits. I would kind of like to do that and make it nice and keep the original quarter panel on the car because it is part of the car. But you run into the problem of, is it really fixable? I mean, that's a pretty nasty dent. It's got a lot of different directions to it. I'm sure some of you body guys out there would look at that and say, yeah, that's no problem. It's easy enough to fix. A quarter panel is something we're going to be dealing with, though, on the car. One of the first things I'm going to address on this car is the fact that there's a ton of rust inside the perimeter of this hood. Where this car sat at some point in its life, there were a ton of rats roaming around loosely on the car, from the interior all the way out to the engine bay. I don't know that they got out into the hood, but there is some rust right here. One of the boons that came with this car is another hood like this hood that has a bad back section on it where it rusted through, but fortunately this brace that runs out across here is in good shape, so we can use it to fix it, or we could go in possibly and just fix that with some some sheet metal and make it look nice. This is the original hood to the car. Want to retain it, don't want to get rid of it. What I will probably do is to go in and get some OSFO or something. Tell me in the comments what you want to see us use there. If you're a body guy, tell me yes or no on that thing. But what we'll want to do is put something down inside the hood, and then fill it with a rust encapsulating paint so that we can make sure that this thing's going to stay nice for years to come. Because I kind of want this car to hang around after I'm gone too. You know, it outlasted John. I'd like for it to outlast me. Now, the car is originally a 302. It is a 2V car. The 70 Torino GT, the standard base engine for it was a 302 2V with a 3-speed manual on the tree. And guess what this car has? It has everything base model as you can get it. And that's a good thing, bad thing. I think that having the 3 on the tree is a good thing because that means that we can plop a 4-speed on the back of that bell housing and immediately have some fun with the car pretty quickly. I have a 4-speed, what I'm showing you right now, up in our running shed, along with a Hurst shifter that will look pretty darn factory, so to speak, on this car. And I also have an original tunnel hump. The car has drum brakes still. The air conditioning you see, while that may seem quite exciting, is not a factory AC unit. John found an AC unit lurking in a junkyard somewhere, grabbed it, hooked it up, and put it in this car. Yes, it is not centered on the dash panel. Yes, I told him about that back in the day. Yes, I grieved him no end about it. But that's where it is, and that's what it is. Other than that, you know, the condenser's there. It's got a filter dryer that's a correct style filter dryer. These things could be retained and reused. It even still has the original radiator in it, although It looks like down on the end here, it's probably not happy. Yes, my co-host has arrived. Just going to watch out and make sure nothing attacks me. Elephant number 2 is that cowl. The cowl is shot on so many levels, it's not even funny. Even the cowl piece that goes over the top of it, the little end caps up there, those are shot. But luckily, the cowl for these cars is now available through Autocrafters and AMD. AMD is now stocking the under and the over piece, so you could go in and replace the entire thing, which is a video that we're going to probably do. A lot of people ask about doing cowls. Now that the cowls are available for the 1966 all the way up through 71, we will go in and cover a cowl replacement on this car, just because I am an absolute glutton for punishment. All right, so I'm going to talk about the interior, or what there is left of it. Now, this interior is pretty much how John left it. You can see the glorious dash pad. That's in really bad shape. This car did sit outside a lot in the Texas heat, and that's exactly what it'll do to a dash pad. Luckily, the guys at Top Flight are making a reproduction of that dash pad. I do not know if it's available in green, because I do believe the dash pad is green, but the panel down on the bottom is black. Ford also put outside vents on these. The cool thing about that is those are the same basic vents that Vintage Air uses. I've got a set of them in my truck. If you wanted to go in and do an AC system in this dash, there's the AC system I mentioned earlier that John threw in here because he just wanted to make things expeditious. That was John's way. Everything was expeditious. As you can see, the lizard that was on the dash panel when I got the car, I don't know how long that had been sitting in there, but I think it's pretty funny. We'll probably keep that guy around when we go to the cruise ins and stuff and just display him along with the vehicle. Headliner's completely missing out of it. It did come with a new set, or original set, if I can reach him here, of the dark green trim panels, the kick panels, and these are in really nice shape. They were in the trunk of the car, so we will probably be reusing these and trying to figure out another way to get sound around the car. Now you can take these and put speaker grills on them back over here, because there is speaker pod areas inside the A-pillars of these cars. I'm going to throw that up on top and hope it doesn't slide down on me. Passenger side door panel is trashed. Passenger side rear door panel is trashed. The latch on this thing was stuck when we got it. I have a feeling John was dealing with that at some point in this car and got frustrated and just ripped this piss out of the door panel. I'm showing you a picture of that right now. He must not have been a happy boy. Other than that, the interior was pretty much all original. There was nothing really wrong with it. The back seat's in passable shape probably. I could maybe clean it up and reuse it, but I'm going to try to get with the guys at Distinctive to get some door panels in so we can show you how to recover those. And then also a good upholstery set for this. And we will be putting buckets in here and probably building our own console. Floor pans are shot in this one like every freaking Fairlane I've seen. I don't know how badly shot they are, but I do know that the toe section underneath the accelerator pedal and the overside section here that you can't really see that well, those are both just blown out and in bad shape. The mice got inside of this car, like I said before, and they just wreaked havoc. All the controls are still there. We are missing the lights knob. I'm hoping that we can do something with that and make that great again. So the knob does pull out, but the knob itself is missing, and I don't know if John just got frustrated, pulled it out, or whatever. Some of me is thinking this car may justify a parts car. We may have to buy a parts car. There's one available nearby that's a four-door, that's a 302, oddly enough, with factory AC, disc brakes, and power steering. So we may snag that ride, even though we're going to probably put an RRS front suspension on this. We may stick around with the Ford steering box and power steering system in this car. Steering wheel shot, steering wheel pad shot, turn signal stalk shot, column shifter shot. But I do have a 71 Mustang steering column that we are going to use on this car in order to get rid of the collar system that you see right here. That will be going away because we'll have the full Mustang collar there, hopefully, that will make that look a little bit better. There's a couple of other shady ways to do that, but I don't want to do those if I don't have to, because they're kind of not copacetic. You have to wreck 2 columns in order to make one, and I don't like doing that if I can get away from it. I'm going to move this out of the way to show you what John's seat was like and why I am going to go in and redo this, because he's missing springs out of the center of this. Well, no, it's not missing springs. It's just the springs are all over the place. This car is really needing a bench seat replacement or the buckets that we're talking about. Either way, we're going to probably go with distinctive. We are going to go with distinctive for the interior on this car. We'll get those from the guys at Autocrafters. Other parts that came with the car, we got 3 sets of bucket seats. None of them I'm going to use. I got a set of Thunderbird buckets in the back of my pickup truck. I got a set of 68 Torino buckets. Those are going in Jackson's 4-door. We're going to kind of make a 1967 Aussie XT Falcon GT out of his car with that stuff. One of the 302s we've got running around, maybe this one will go into his car, and we'll just have to source a set of pedals for it when we go over to the Cleveland, because I do have a bell housing and all for that, and we've got a 3-speed right here, so we may just go ahead and make that car into a manual shift 3-speed. That's really pretty much everything in the interior at this point. The nice thing about this car is all original. This car has never been painted. It's got factory original paint, what's left of it. The cool thing about it is something I'll talk to you about in just a second. If I can get out of here, ooh, and not kill myself with it. Ooh. Shuts like a dream. Now, one quick thing I wanted to talk about on these cars is the fact that the stripes don't sit square to the beauty line down the center of the car. They are, in fact, higher at the front than they are at the back. At the back, the top edge of the stripe should even up with the gills on the side of the car, which are missing right now. They're in the car, but they are missing. So the top of this stripe should run to the top of that gill set there. So that's something that's good to know. So now you know, and we'll go in when we put stripes on it, if we ever are able to get it that far, and we'll put the stripes back on here correctly for what it should be. All right, so I'm going to talk about the deck lid before I pop the trunk so you can see what's going on in there. What we've got going on is we've got some rust issues here. We've got a rust spot on the top of the deck lid in the far left-hand corner, and then we have a rust spot up here by the back window. We have another rust spot popping up down here on the facing of the deck lid, then another rust spot in the top of the deck lid in the right-hand corner, and on the underside, it's pretty crunchy. There's some rust, and this has actually got a hole in it now. And what I think happened is there was a leak on this car somewhere in the recent past that caused this. The biggest problem in this was the actual deck lid being left exposed, though. This deck lid sat open to the world, so to speak, for a good long while. I'm going to pull this stuff out of the way. These are available from Autocrafters. This is a factory AC center vent that I got for John that got damaged in, oh, I don't know, who knows when, but the parts are all still here, so we could possibly repair it. And I'm going to take this and pull this wheel out. Now, this is one of the optional wheels for 1970. This is a 5-hole, or they call it a 5-window wheel. Basically, it's the same wheel that was on the 69 Mustang, but with 5 slots, and they will use these on the 70 Mustangs, all the way up through 1973 on the Cougars. All right, before I go into the trunk and start talking about that, I want to go over the GT package for the Torino. Now, the Torino, the GT actually had its own spot in the van. I'm showing you what that is right now. And then there was also another trim code within it for the GT interior. So the GT had its own package for that. I think it got a larger sway bar on the front, no rear sway bar, probably heavier duty shocks, heavier duty front and rear springs because of the Gran Turismo aspects of it. And then also it had the dual sport mirrors on it. So if you had a GT, you automatically got the dual sport mirrors on the front. You got that cool hood that had absolutely no ram air capabilities available. If you wanted ram air, you had to order the shaker, which I think is actually cooler, but I'm going to stick with this hood because that's the hood that I've got. I don't have the other hood, which is a flat hood. The laser stripes were part of the package as well, so you got the reflective laser stripes. The cool thing is the new ones that are out there, like we talked about a minute ago, those are actually available with the reflectiveness that they had originally, a safety feature of those GT stripes. I don't know about you, but back in the day, if I was running from the Popo, I would not have wanted the reflective stripes on the side of my car, because I can guarantee you they're going to see it if it's available to be seen. All right, pulling out the sides here to see what we look like underneath. That's pretty cool. You can see that these side sections look really nice. There's not really any rust to speak of in here. It's at that point though, if we waited any longer on this car, we probably would be dealing with some rust repair back in the bottom corners here. Taillight panel's in good shape. Even still has the original mat in here with a DOOB 554 blah 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 part number. I know some of you that's not very exciting, but for weirdos like me, that's pretty cool. Beer cans, beer bottles. John loved his beer. And a couple of trailer hitches. I'm gonna pull this one up and see what we got. And yeah, you can see a little bit here. You probably can't see it, but there's a little bit of a beginnings of rust problem here and on this back edge of the trunk area on this car. And so we need to get on this thing pretty quick, get some rust encapsulating paint all down on these sides and stuff, because most of the time these areas did not get a lot of paint from Ford. This one's still the trunk drop-offs. The trunk drop-offs are still there. Kind of amazing stuff. I'm going to put that back. Leave the beer cans. Food to John. I'm not going to leave them in there permanently, just for now. All right, now I'm going to take and pull around, drop the deck lid on this thing. Shuts nice. I hate that that deck lid didn't get paint on it sooner. So, what all did we get for loot with our 70 Torino? Well, we got a couple of bucket seats for a Thunderbird. One of those bucket seats is actually a power seat, which is kind of cool. So, if my buddy doesn't want these seats anymore, these will be going up for grabs. If you guys know somebody who needs a pair of Thunderbird buckets for probably 63 or 64 Thunderbird, I have a pair that I have absolutely no use for. We got a baffled oil pan. That's a 4V oil pan. That's pretty cool, but it is going to need to be cleaned up. A pair of Monroe Max Air shock absorbers. Another dash panel, but this panel is pretty trashed. I may use this one as a sacrificial lamb to learn how to set up some things that I want to do with these dash panels. Extra marker lights, Cleveland valve covers, another bumper and bumper brackets, which that's not something I'm going to probably be using. And most of the rest of this stuff, honestly, with the exception of a couple of pulleys and that big Ford vacuum diagram and wiring diagram there for 1970, outside of those things, not a lot here. Most all of this stuff is going to be going to the dump because it's just stuff that I'm not going to have any use for. Because if I build a Cleveland for this thing, I'm going to be doing a little bit different. I'm going to be using ARP fasteners on it, so we've got good retention on the heads. So we won't be using the original fasteners. We won't be using the original rocker arms. So a lot of the things that I have with this just are not going to be useful. The power steering pumps in the back of the truck, those could be usable for the brackets. I don't even know if those pumps are good or frozen. But we also got a couple of fenders. That's good. We got the spare hood I've already talked about, so that's good. An extra set of headlight buckets, that's good. I don't know if it's going to do me any good, but it's a good thing to have those because, you know, it's just always good to have spare parts. I would really much rather be helping John restore this thing than me doing it without him here. But that's the way life is sometimes, isn't it? All right, you guys do me a favor. Be kind to each other, love on each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. So many things. Kind of makes me think about the flotsam and jetsam I have in my shop. A lot of stuff, and after I'm gone, not a lot of use for a lot of people.